Good morning, YouTube. This morning it's about 7 a.m. in San Diego. Not for real. For real, they're 4 hours behind us, so probably very in the wee hours of the morning there. Um, I am tracking real weather, if not real time, right now. Today, since we're in the San Diego area, I was thinking we'll fly around San Diego again, just have another look at the city, and then I would like, since I've been struggling with the G530 RNAV approach, I'd like to go ahead and plug that into the G530 and attempt another RNAV landing this morning. I did do one successfully last night, so this morning is just to kind of commit it to memory and ensure that I have everything that I need to in order to be able to do these guided landings. I may not have to program it. It might be mostly in here from yesterday, but I'll just see.
Blackington weather. Wind light and variable. Visibility more than 10.
It's the San Diego ATIS I'm looking to check
9,
right now.
Dew point -2. Altimeter 3019.
I think it's 134.8.
San Diego INTL information Zulu. 1300 Zulu weather. Wind light and variable. Visibility more than 10.
Okay, so altimeter is 3020, arriving one way, or excuse me, arriving on runway is 27. Winds light and variable.
Arriving runway 27, departing runway 27. Advise on initial contact you have Zulu.
Oh. Alright, so it's loaded, and I'll activate it later once we're in the air. We won't be needing waypoints or anything like that. We'll just be flying visual, flying around San Diego. Then we'll activate the approach at roughly where the Lindy begins, and then fly it in. So I have my VOR set at 270. The runway heading is 270. We'll put my heading bug at 270, and it's like that from yesterday afternoon. I'm not sure that the VOR1 matters so much as this dial here, the heading indicator. I think that's where I have been going wrong with the other RNAV attempts. If I don't have my heading bug set correctly, then once I select the approach button, it just goes off into the direction of that heading bug. So as I'm taxiing here, I'm also looking at my magnetic north. It looks like we're heading in a westerly direction right now, but as I look down at my heading indicator, we need to change that. I think my very next video will be doing the same landing, the RNAV landing with the G1000, just to demonstrate how much simpler it is to do in comparison to what's necessary with the G530. That doesn't mean that I don't like using the G530. No, I prefer it simply because it is a little more challenging for me. Requires, you know, it requires you to be on your toes a little bit. You know, you have to make sure that your heading indicators match with magnetic north. You don't have to do that with the G1000. How you interact with the actual autopilot is different than how you interact with it on the G1000. Not knowing the altitudes you need to be at for the fixes, you know, you don't have that information for the G530 as you have with the G1000. So there's several things that make the feel of actually flying the GPS approach or RNAV approach between the two devices extremely different. Alright, so now I'm going to run the engines up, spool the engines up a little bit, test the brakes, and then take off. Lifting off, I didn't have to rotate. We must have a little headwind. That lifted off very, very easy. I chose 7 a.m. to kind of give us a little bit of a dawn flight, but to also have enough light to be able to see. There's an aircraft coming in for landing there. I think I'm just going to track him for a little bit. Watch him. Now he's probably coming in at about 130 knots, so there's no way I can catch up to him or even have to worry about hitting him because he's coming in so fast. Right on the money. He's got a little bit of crosswind or something though. Alright, I'm going to climb to about 2,800 feet and then initiate the approach. So I just know from yesterday I need to be about 2,800 feet before I get to that little mountain there. Because we go right by it. Excuse me. And for this flight I did not turn my landing and taxi lights off because I didn't think I'd be flying around that long. I think for this flight I could keep it relatively short if I just did the landing, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do a replay so we can see going through the buildings and the aircraft that I was chasing. We can watch that in the replay. Alright, 2,500 feet. right, 2,800 feet. Now, one thing I forgot to do, and as I was just adjusted that by mistake, I was trying to zoom in. It's 3023 or something along those lines. So I'm going to adjust that. I can switch back over to that radio and listen. 3020. That just puts us at 100 more feet than I actually switched my altitude to. I mean, I did 2,800 feet, but when I adjusted that, it shows us at 2,900. That shouldn't be a problem. I'll still eyeball the mountain to make sure I have enough clearance to get by it. So I haven't actually changed this to GPS. I have it set on nav, but I am going to change it to GPS. But from what I can tell, we are flying the GPS because I selected GPS on the autopilot. But I'm going to switch this to GPS. Yeah, from this angle, it looks like we're going to run right into the front of that mountain. Yeah. And it helps if I can read my altimeter properly. There's a difference between 1,800 feet and 2,800 feet. Difference of 1,000 feet. I'll do an altitude hold at 2,500. I think that'll do it. Tell you what, let's look outside. Oh yeah. Now, will we get around this one? Question. Well, I guess I'll push my luck. Keeps it interesting. What else can we hit? Alright, now we see the runway. And for the most part, we're heading exactly heading 270, maybe off by just a little bit. I'm not going to adjust any knobs or dials at this point. I'm going to wait till I get a little closer to see if I need to adjust the heading indicator. I had to tweak it a little bit yesterday because I wasn't lined up with the runway perfectly, but I could probably just tweak the heading bug as opposed to the heading indicator itself. I could probably turn either of those knobs one way or the other and get lined up. Right now it's looking good. Maybe just to the right of it. Okay, so now I'm looking to get localized, and I'm looking for the VOR1 to change. This red and white thing will go away, and these things will become active. Right now they just seem aligned. They'll become unaligned in a moment. Once VOR1 activates to indicate that I'm on the localizer, I'll select approach. On the autopilot, I'll select approach, and then I'll also select the attitude or altitude for the glide slope. Lately I've been messing around with the library and the things necessary in order to be able to, adjust the library or make it more to your liking, change the paint jobs, things like that. I don't know everything about it yet, but I'm getting a good working knowledge rather quickly. And I have some ideas for a particular library that I want to make for myself. I won't say what it is yet, but it's in the works. I'm not sure how long it will take, or even if I'll be successful at it, but I have an idea of something I want to try. Alright, I'm going to start slowing the aircraft down a little bit because we're inching closer to the runway. And there we are on the localizer. So we'll do approach, and it looks like I've already got the glide slope, and that might be because I had nav GPS selected. I don't know, but it does say GS, so I don't know if I should hit it again or leave it be and see if it just descends. So I think I'll give it a minute. I'll leave it like that and slow the aircraft down some more. Doesn't look like it's descending, so I have my doubts. There we go. I didn't do anything, it just I didn't give it enough time. So in that instance, it initiated the glide slope for me, and I did not do it. That's interesting to me. We do look lined up pretty good. I don't have any complaints at this point. I don't necessarily feel like I should make any adjustments. The magnetic compass looks like it says west. My heading bug is already set to west. The heading indicator itself matches with magnetic north, which is west. And then we selected the approach button on the autopilot. I did not have to select the glide slope this time, but yesterday afternoon I had to select for the glide slope, and maybe I didn't have to. Maybe I just did it early. I don't know why I didn't have to today. That's an enigma to me. So here I am trying to commit all this to memory, and then the autopilot goes and confuses me. I'm not complaining so long as the RNAV landing works, but it just goes to show I still need more practice. Until I feel comfortable and confident I can do it every time out and not make a mistake, I've got to keep practicing. But yeah, with the G530, it just seems to me you need to be more mindful of the instruments when you're going to do your RNAV landing. At least I particularly need to be. But if I were using the G1000, I don't necessarily have to adjust my heading bug to match the runway heading in order to do a GPS RNAV landing. And in my next video, I think I'll demonstrate that. I'll set my heading bug south just because. Well, it's got to be somewhat close to, I don't know, I'll mess around with it and try to mess it up a little bit. Now that I'm saying it, it might make me out to be a liar, but the point of the video will be to demonstrate how much easier it is to do an RNAV landing with the G1000. Alright, I'm losing a little bit more speed than I want, so I'm going to give it a little more power, just to keep it right at 60 knots. Our ground speed is 60 knots, but the indicated airspeed is a little less than that. I was going to do a replay of the entire flight, but I don't think I will. Right now the video is about 32 minutes long. If I did a replay of the entire flight, it's going to make it an hour long. So at best, I'll just do a replay of the landing. Alright, I can no longer see the buildings. I'm going to take over the autopilot and land. Plane is now under my control. Slowly reducing throttle and nosing up. Alright, flaps are coming up. Wow, the right brake is really touchy, or excuse me, the left brake. Killing the engines. We'll power it off, do a replay just of the landing. That building back there looks a little lopsided. The lower portion of the building. Yeah, I don't know why those cars stop on the freeways when I'm coming in for a landing, but I've noticed that. Like, he stopped in the intersection there. He stopped in the intersection. They are. Two more over there. Kind of interesting. Whereas all the ground equipment and the ground vehicles at the airport, they just keep moving, and the aircraft, you know. So sometimes I'll land at a gate, come back after a replay, and I'm just parking right where some other aircraft parked, and I got there first. Yay, we did not slam the landing gear down. That's good. Nice smooth landing. Yeah, the brakes seem a little bit harsh in X-Plane 11, and they're a lot smoother in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Because it's not like I'm trying to slam on my brakes or anything like that. I give it a little brake and it just lurches forward like that. And maybe that's how it is in real life. I just have no way of knowing and comparing. I can only compare between the simulators. And the brakes seem abrupt in X-Plane 11 in comparison to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. That's all. Which one's more realistic? I don't know. Laughing at myself. Sometimes I make taxiing look so easy. Sometimes I make it look hard. All right, YouTube. Thank you for joining me. Y'all have a good day.